Competed in Britain's Strongest Man in 2018. I came 5th, so I got the reserve spot for World's Strongest Man. It was a bit of a bittersweet kind of experience for me. To turn up, I thought I'll just watch the show, learn, front row seats, the strongest guys on the planet. You know, it's a good experience for me. Watching them set up for the TV link for Group 1, not really particularly thinking anything, and then Terry Holland comes up to me, he said, are you going to warm up? I was like, I'm going to humour him. I was like, no, I'm not in, and he said, you might be. So I looked at him, I was like, what do you mean I might be? You know, I needed to be much less mysterious about all this. And he said, look at Lala. So we all turned around and he's there limping around, looking like not good body language. And I was like, ooh, this could be interesting. So I'm starting to stretch, I'm looking around, trying to find out what's going on. He goes into the tent, comes out, sits down, head in the hand. So at this point I'm really warming up. And then a few minutes later I hear Colin shout, where's Paul Smith? So I come running over, get changed, get my shirt on. So I got in, you know, I'm standing next to Brian Shaw, my heart's going, I'm not prepared, I don't really know, how I'm gonna do. I haven't actually warmed up with anything. And then about 5 minutes later, the whistle was going for the loading medley. My heart rate going about 300 beats per minute. Overall, it didn't go very well. I just didn't have the event prep. I wasn't good enough then to jump in on short notice at this level. It was definitely the worst case scenario for any competition. Obviously, like it's very rare that you'd have, even like getting in the day before would be rare, but to do it literally in less than a warm-up's time of it was quite extreme. So I applied myself as good as I could, and I tried as hard as I could. I never gave up at any point, but it just wasn't, I just wasn't prepared enough, So as much as I'm glad I went out and did it, it was a shame to not feel like I could show my true ability. Yeah, so after the comp was done, I was thinking next year I'm going to be much more prepared. I'll make sure I get a kind of invite by right and kind of right the wrong, but obviously that didn't end up happening. And 2019 came and didn't get an invite, 2020 came and didn't get an invite, 2021 came and 2022. Often with World's Strongest Man you kind of get your chance, and if you blow it, it can take a long time to get back there. Some people not at all. So I think in hindsight, if I hadn't have got in, it probably actually set me up better, both in competition invites and kind of mentally going forward. So Britain's Strongest Man felt like a very big opportunity for me. I'd done a lot more bigger comps last year, lots of internationals, beat a lot of guys at Worlds, held my own against the top guys in the world. And I knew if I did well here, it was my ticket to World's Strongest Man. I knew it was on the radar, so I knew that it was kind of, this is time to shine. I can win this. I think if everything goes right, I can win this. Which kind of was the case. If everything had gone right, I could have won this, but unfortunately, it was kind of 4 events I was good enough to win. That 5th event was a bit of my nemesis, the power stairs. I'm not competitive with the top guys, so it was going really well. I exceeded my own expectations and I felt good. I knew I was the strongest I've ever been, and I knew I could have a big finish and be on that podium. Unfortunately, I just wasn't quite advanced enough with it to pull it off. It did me, and I ended up finishing 4th and missing out on the podium. Missing the podium, I was like, that's the World's Strongest Man automatic invite. But I think I showed a good enough account of myself and really made people believe that I can win these kind of comps and I should be at the top level and at World's Strongest Man. Fortunately, it was only a couple of days after, I think, the first announcement where I actually got the invite, and I was like, right, I'm in, I can relax. Full prep, full amount of time as everyone else. You can really focus on it now and not worry about getting invited, just worry about being good on the day. The goal is always to get invited back. I mean, it's been more years than I expected and would have hoped for. But Worlds, it's the top show in the world. It's always the goal. It's always been get to World's Strongest Man, do as well as possible. I'm capable of making the final. I can be the top 10, but I've got to perform very well. The events are pretty good for me. I've got no excuses. I'm all in to just make the final. If I can make the final this year, then I'll be in a brilliant spot going into the rest of my career. So I think 2018 Paul would be happy, for one, that I've got there, happy that the hard work is kind of paid off. He'd be glad that it came around. He can kind of go and right or wrong, so to speak. I'm excited to get out there and see what I can do. I've done the work. We've had one comp beforehand, and I'll just be shoved to the back because